Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast, episode 2. Today I have a guest on.
What's up, guys? I'm Dillon.
He is a freelance photographer who puts a little spin on his stuff. So he does Photoshop, elements, and
Yeah, I like to do a lot of creative portraits, but as well as just like Photoshop manipulation and creating art through not only photography with an actual camera, a DSLR, but also with other assets I could find on the internet, just like on Google.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell everybody how you got started with photography.
My longtime dream was to be a singer-songwriter and music producer, and I played a guitar for coming up on 12 years now, and I've been in 3 bands, and that's really what I thought my passion was going to be until I got into college. I went to Idaho State, and my second year, I decided to take just like this Photoshop class just for fun, just to try it out, because I did take a Photoshop class when I was in high school. It went right over my head. I didn't understand that. Honestly, one of my classmates just helped me out with everything.
Same.
I had no idea what I was doing.
I took a Photoshop class too, and my teacher would instruct it, and I'm like, okay, I would tune him out and start doing my own thing, and I was like, I don't know what this tool does, but I'm gonna use it.
Right.
Like winging it.
Yeah, and like this just goes to show like you don't have to be good at it. Like I struggled with it. I didn't understand it at all. But like
There's
here I am using it every day.
Yeah.
It's really overwhelming when you first look at it. Just like anything really, when you really like dive headfirst into anything, it's just like so overwhelming. You have no idea what you're doing. So baby steps, honestly, just working into it, like a beginner class for Photoshop. This different professor, he was previously like a video game programmer. And he's
cool.
really techie, but he honestly admitted he had no idea what he was doing in Photoshop. He didn't know the basics. He did know quite a bit about it, but he'd never really used it. He used other software engines. But like they all kind of collectively have like the same type of tools. So he had a basic understanding.
Yeah.
And he would have an overhead projector, and he would show us on his computer. He would do what the assignment was, and he'd walk us through step by step. He'd do it 2-3 times just so it would really implant. Yeah. And then if I ever had a question, I would ask him for help, and he would come over and he would sit down with me. He'd pull a chair next to me, and our class was really small. It was only like a quarter of the actual classroom was full of people, with students. And he sat down and he just started walking through, and he started walking me step by step of what I was supposed to do. And periodically he'd say, does that make sense? Like, do you understand how that works?
Yeah. Okay, that's what makes like a
which
good
I
teacher
love, yes.
from like
and I absolutely love this class because of it. You could tell he was super passionate about having students understand.
Yeah, teachers can like make or break. Like
exactly, and you could tell he loved his job,
That's good.
He was like a child at heart. He would come to class and he would just talk about his day and just rant about the stuff that was like pissing him off or something. And we were just like his therapy. Like he was just there to get it all out, but also like to help us and help, teach us. But he did it in like such a fun way where Photoshop didn't seem like something that was more of a task. It was more of like a game.
Yeah,
is what he made Photoshop kind of like. It's almost like a challenge. He would challenge us to create something really cool. And he would he would walk me through, and then after he would show me what to do, he would reverse all of it, erase all of it, and then he would have me do it by myself. And if I ever got stuck, he would step in and help me out.
That's good.
And like he just really, really enforce the different steps to really make sure that I understood. Like I could tell he's really passionate. He really wanted me to know and understand it, which I really loved. That's where I started kind of getting into photography, because there was just photo manipulation. I was just downloading images from Google, make cool composites of like cows jumping out of the ocean like a dolphin, or like the Iron Giant like stepping on a mountain.
Yeah,
just weird stuff. Yeah, just like a collage basically.
Yeah.
And I started really liking that, and then I started going out of my way and taking photos with my iPhone. And then I'd bring it into Photoshop and started messing around with stuff like that. I started getting on YouTube, watching like tutorials of how to do cool composites. That's where I started like making levitation photos of myself, just like really, really low quality, bad, grainy photos.
Gotta start somewhere,
Exactly. And it got to the point where I was like thinking about Photoshop almost every day and just creating art. And I would work until around midnight or 12:15. And instead of going back home and getting some sleep so I can go to class in the morning, I would go straight to campus and I would sit down for basically the entire night, sometimes 6 to 9 hours, just sitting at the computer screen editing. And I wouldn't get any sleep. And then I would just go to class that next day, and I would just be practicing. And it's all about dedication and like perseverance. And honestly, like at the start, I was not good. But for my birthday, my mom had a family friend who was like a landscape photographer. She had a Nikon D5500 that my mom bought from her, and she gave it to me for my birthday. I started using that. I started going around doing little photo shoots here with my friends and started practicing more with color grading. That's when I started kind of like familiarizing myself with Lightroom, which is the Adobe's photography editing software. whereas Photoshop is more for manipulation.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, and so
Drawing
I was really familiarizing myself with different programs that are all involved with the art. And after I started doing this for a while, I decided to buy my own camera because my camera, it was good, it treated me pretty well for about a year.
Yeah.
But I wanted something that was a little bit more advanced. Now that I had figured out how to use Photoshop, how to use Lightroom, I was getting faster and quicker at editing. I was getting better, learning different techniques, and watching a bunch of YouTube tutorials, honestly, because everything is at our disposal. They're at our fingertips. You know, you have the entire internet in your pocket. So I started using YouTube to my advantage to kind of learn more about editing, different skills, different ideas. Even I would use it for creativity. I started following up a bunch of photographers on Instagram, so I started just like getting photography and art popping up in my feed all the time just for inspiration, and it was really, really nice. And from there I got a new camera. I got a Nikon Z50, which was a mirrorless camera, my first at the time, and I started using that for a while. That's where I really started getting into portrait photography, and from there, like, it just kind of turned, you know, it's just the history of it. It just kind of got better and better, and just kept practicing, and here I am today.
See, I used Photoshop when I was younger, and I didn't use it for photography reasons, but I did digital art. Like, that's how I got into graphic design. So what I do with Photoshop is I draw like portraits, digital, like animals, like fun little designs and stuff. I was in a yearbook class in high school, and I'd edit photos with Photoshop and Lightroom. So that's how I got introduced to photography, because I'd be taking pictures.
Okay.
I would be doing like bits for my school. I'd plan out different sort of like fun stuff, and we had a school YouTube, and
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we would post stuff on there, a lot of creative elements, and that's how I kind of got into Photoshop and photography.
And graphic design.
Yeah, and graphic design, yeah. And I'm okay. I don't think I'm a good photographer at all. Like, yes, I can take a picture. I can make it visually set up really good. But
framing, posing,
yeah, that's
lights,
that's really not my thing. So I mad respect for that. Plus all the time that goes into editing. I feel that, like,
oh, definitely. I would be sitting at a computer screen editing one image for up to 6 hours, nonstop.
It takes forever.
But honestly, time just flies by, because while you're just messing with sliders and changing colors, you put on vibes. Like, you're just in the zone, right? You just dial down, and you're just so focused on the image. And time just flies by, but by the time you're done, it is so worth it, because it's just like you get this feeling, and you're like, wow, I created that. That's amazing.
And then there's the times you look at it and you're just like looking at it for too long, and you're like, you know, just like one of those feelings where you're like, oh, that's not
spend a lot of hours on it, and you're still not happy with it. I'm a perfectionist, so I definitely
same here. I like notice every little visual thing.
Sometimes I've even like spent like 4 to 5 hours on an edit, and I still didn't like it, and I just like deleted it, and I saved the photo.
But you just start over.
But I just start over, but I work on a different day. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I need to take a break and come back to this, because either the skin tones weren't looking good, or the colors in the background were not looking good.
And I think it's good to take a break, because like then your eyes are like all sore.
Exactly. And sometimes what I would also do is, when I'm editing a photo in Lightroom, doing all the color grading and toning and stuff like that, after a while, I realized I'd be spending a lot of time on one image, and I just couldn't get the colors to look good, and I was getting frustrated, because I am a perfectionist. I feel confident in my work, and I'm proud about it.
But if you notice like a little
if there's something that I don't like 100%, I know I'm not gonna like the final result, and I'm not gonna be happy with it.
But like to a viewer, they wouldn't notice, right? Like,
it's somebody that doesn't do photography honestly would not care. But I do it. I don't just do it for other people, like, because it is interesting. Yeah, I do it for me, because I feel very proud, and I like creating art, and like it's subjective. And I would be editing on one photo for so long that I just decided, like, I need to take a break from this. I'd go to the next photo. I'd start editing that. And after a while, I'd come back to the first image. And the first impression of seeing it, I immediately knew what colors were looking bad, or I knew what I needed to fix after I let my eyes kind of adjust and take a break. Yeah. So that's definitely a trick that helped me when I was editing photos.
That's good. So, like, how did you find your style? You kind of have, like, a distinct style with colors and your little gradients and edits and stuff like that. How'd you figure that out?
My style has bounced around so much, because when I first started photography, I loved watching like YouTube vloggers like Peter McKinn. He's one of my favorite photographers. He's also a video filmmaker, and he does a lot of tutorials as well. But I just loved his style, and I would watch his videos, and that's really what influenced me to want to keep getting better and better. But at the time, because kind of like his style and other photographers at the time that I was looking at, they all had like this crispy, like really sharp look to the images, and I didn't really have that much of a sharp camera. My lens wasn't very good, but I would like up the clarity, as like normal photographers starting out would be, they bump up the saturation all the way, they bump up the clarity,
the colors,
just extreme measures, because at the time you're like, this is so cool, like this looks awesome.
You're like, your eyes are like filled with the color and the distinction,
and like right at the start, like before you start getting the artistic feel, I guess, it just looks so cool, and you immediately just want to slap it on there and just call it good. But I definitely had more of like a dark, moody, like all my images were really, really dark and kind of like mysterious, and I had a lot of clarity, really like sharp contrast. I had a lot of contrast on my images, but I did like a lot of Photoshop work. So I would do like a Photoshop picture, like a self image of me on a railroad holding up my hoodie, and then I'd Photoshop my face out of the image, and then I would Photoshop me also in the distance back on the railroad tracks in my face. So like it was kind of like a hole through my head. And I would do stuff like that, but I'd put like a gradient on it to make it super dark and like moody and desaturated. So I went from like that really dark, moody style to bouncing around to like more poppy, vibrant colors, because I got in this mood at one point where I was like, I was looking back at my Instagram feed, and for some reason I just didn't like it. There's a bunch of other photographers that I admired.
This gotta change. I don't like it.
And I see other photographers all the time because I surround my entire social media on this kind of stuff. So I'm always getting new creative ideas and new styles popping up in my feed all the time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of social media and just like the internet in general gives a lot of creativity and ideas, and
especially like the explore page based off of what you're already interested in.
And you just like grab ideas from different people, and you're like, oh, I could do this, and like it's not like being an artist.
You can add your own style into it. Yeah, it's like creating music, because like so many songs and so many artists
like
have the
same chords.
People will
sample other songs.
Yeah, or
like
they'll be the same chord progression, but you can like add different drums to it, or you can add different instruments to completely change it, but it's still the same chords, right? It's kind of like that with photography, but instead of like taking ideas, I would take ideas here and there, but add a twist, like create it and make it my own, and a lot of self-portraits of myself in those images as well. But also I was seeing all these other photographers that had really creative styles I really liked, and from the start, I always believed that I was never going to be the best photographer. I always knew there's going to be people better than me. Like, all I could do is better myself. And I am a huge believer in artists support artists. So there's other photographers that ask me how I get my looks all the time. And honestly, I help them out. I've sent people videos, like full tutorials of like how I create a glowing butterfly Photoshop. But because I believe like there's so much of a kind of like jealousy, not jealousy,
like
but
gatekeeping.
Like, everybody's like, if somebody
Sure.
has a good style, like they really have a good feed and everybody's following them for that style, they don't want to give out their secrets.
Yeah,
like,
because they don't want someone else to be like
they don't want somebody to copy their style and do better. Like that's kind of
there's a lot of gatekeeping too in the community.
And I don't agree with that. I feel like everybody should help everyone. I'm never afraid to help anybody. If anybody has questions, I'll definitely reach out and I'll give them like the whole rundown. I'll do full video, like YouTube editorials of how I create my look exactly, so anybody that wants to create that look can.
That's good.
I'm not like territorial about my work, but I'm very proud of it at the same time. But I would take like different styles and I'll try to recreate that in Lightroom when I'm editing my photos, because sometimes I'll have a look and I'll have like a really moody, like contrasted look, and I'll like that. So I'll export it as that, but I'll keep the image, I'll reset it, and then I'll try a completely different style just to see if I like it a little bit more.
Test it.
And I'd try out different styles here and there, like mix match.
Until you kind of found what you like.
And so that's how it's funny because like I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed sometimes, and when I'm scrolling down, I'll like look at my feed, and you can tell there's a distinct difference where my entire style just changed. Yeah,
but
because
that's good.
It's like experimenting. Yeah, because I don't like sticking to one thing, because I feel like too many people do that, and it makes your feed look good, and that's what people follow you for. I like the idea of any kind of situation or any kind of like scene I'm in, any kind of lighting conditions, any type of like colors, or different buildings in the set or in the scene that I'm working with, can drastically influence how your images look. And if you only stick to one style and you have a certain scene that doesn't really fit like your specific style, let's say like you have a really like bright, airy, colorful, bloomy kind of style on your feed, but you're working in a dark alleyway,
it's not
and there's
really
a bunch of like skyscraper buildings in the background, and you're not used to street photography, you only do portraits, then like that style won't work for you. Whereas I play around different styles, different scenes, different models, different color grading, and I do that because I can get good at any scene that I put myself in, any environment, and I can still make really good art out of it. And so by doing so, I'm not limited to anything. I can do whatever I like.
Good.
So that's what I really like about photography too, is like it is very subjective. Not everybody will agree with my style, but that's why my style is always changing, because there will be people that just hate my style, but then like in 1 month my style will completely change and they'll love my photography, and you know, so it kind of appeals to everybody. It's like music. Like some people only like country music, other people only like metal, other people like hip hop, whereas I generally like to listen to everything. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I just music in general. I just love it. So I'm kind of the same way with photography. I just love all art, honestly, and I think that's what really influences like my decision with my photography.
We took a little break and we started talking about our home life and upbringing, and so
kind of interesting.
we're gonna go back into that topic because it's kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
You know?
So like while we're on this little break, we started talking about kind of like my upbringing and like religious background and stuff. And tattoos and alcohol, and basically I started photography when I was my second year in college. But before college, I grew up in the Mormon church. I was very, very religious. My whole family is very religious. And when I turned 18, moved out, went to college. After my first year, my family, I felt like I don't have any issues with people that are like religious, right? I believe everybody has the right to believe what they want to believe. And personally, I just lost faith in the church. And I feel like my family knew that, but they didn't want to admit it. So I was supposed to serve an LDS mission, but I decided I didn't want to. That wasn't for me. And my family actually went around telling everybody in my old ward that I put in my mission papers. I was waiting to get my mission call when I went to college. And I found out about that, and I was so mad. But I was like, why are you lying to everybody? Why are you telling everybody I'm going on a mission? That's not what I want to do. Like, it's just all about kind of like wanting to put on like a persona. Want everybody to think you're like some perfect like religious family. Yeah. And I went to college instead, and when I was in college I got introduced into alcohol, you know, all the stuff that your parents tell you to stay away from. Like, right, just partying it up, like, let's go. I started doing that, and I feel like my family kind of figured I would start doing that. And apparently on my mom's side of the family, they have a long history of alcoholism, so my mom was always afraid I'd start getting to become an alcoholic. But honestly, I would always drive myself to parties, so I honestly wouldn't even drink because that was my excuse. I drove myself here, so I'm not drinking, I'm just meeting everybody. But after a while I started, like, other people would offer, they knew I had friends that knew I would never drink, so they started driving for me so I could drink. They wanted to have me get that. And when I started getting into alcohol a little bit, just for fun, you know, I wouldn't drink too much. I would just do it to like start feeling good and start meeting people. You know, the confidence comes out, and you're just a whole different person. And I started coming back, visiting my family because I didn't live too far away from my college town. I lived my parents lived about 45 minutes away, so I'd come visit them. And one night it was just me and my mom. We're sitting in the kitchen, right? And while I'm just chilling and hanging out and on my phone, my mom says, "Hey, I have something in the pantry for you." And she walks in and she brings out a bottle of Fireball. And she said, do you want me to pour you a shot? I am like, I've Mormon mother tasted alcohol. My Mormon mother brings out a bottle of Fireball and asks me if I want to take a shot. You're really calling her out right now. No. Sorry, Mom.
Ooh, sorry, Mom.
But I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And she poured me a shot, and she actually poured me a glass, and me and her just shared it and got a little buzz. And she told me not to tell my dad or my sister, because my sister is also a returned missionary, right? Mother? And I thought that was kind of interesting. Honestly, it was like a really weird feeling because I was super religious. Like, we were by the book. Like, everything that you would expect to be like a really good Christian, like everything you believe in, everything you say and do is all kind of like God and Christ-like. Well, that's what they say. Not everybody practices what they preach, but that's definitely kind of how the church is. And that's also what bothered me. I didn't like being fake. I didn't like pretending to be somebody that I'm not. I like to enjoy my life. I like to have fun. I like to talk with. I like to have friends that aren't religious, like, because they have a whole different outlook on life.
Yeah, right? I think it's good to experience that.
And the people in my church that were my age were always like the cliquey, preppy kids, the jocks, the cheerleaders, the popular kids. They always acted too cool for me. They would never talk to me.
Like, better than everybody.
Exactly. Like. And so in high school, the friends I had were actually my best friend. The one who I'm no longer friends with was actually atheist. And I had another friend who was Methodist, and they were my best friends I would hang out and do everything with. And my family, actually, my mom didn't like when I hung out with them that much because they weren't a bad influence, but she didn't like that they weren't Mormon. Like, they had to be a part of our religion for me to hang out with them, and I hated the idea. And and like once I started drinking with my family, it was like life just changed. And I moved here to Boise, and I went back last year for 4th of July, and we went camping, and my dad pulled out a cooler full of beer. You're like, and they gave me a can, and we just drank beers around the campfire and shot fireworks in the sky and blew shit up, you know. But it's so weird. So like, it was really interesting. So now I feel like it's because they have no control over me now that I've moved out and I've gone to college,
Mm-hmm.
kind of experienced stuff myself. I'm no longer sheltered in their nest where everything that I consume and see and hear is what they want me to hear and see.
Like you kind of experience that on your own.
So now I can learn about things on my own and be more open-minded by that. And
I think that helps with like creativity too.
I definitely do too.
If like creative people are really close-minded and not open to like other ideas.
Creative people are?
Well, no. If people, like creative people aren't.
More like left-brained people.
Yeah, left-brained. You know, like it just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if ideas aren't coming in, if you're not experiencing new things, it's hard for ideas to come.
And sometimes if you get like a block, because I get writer's block all the time. Yeah. And like sometimes I'll want to make like a creative Photoshop portrait or something. And I can't think of anything.
Into it and you're like,
yeah, but like if you meet people, because sometimes I'll have friends that will already have ideas in mind, or I have friends that like are on Pinterest all the time. And like, oh, like you want to do a photo shoot? And I said, yeah. And like, oh, I have a bunch of ideas. If you have any already,
mm-hmm.
I said, no.
I know.
I share
some ideas every once in a while.
And it's so nice because like-minded creative people is definitely like.
It's good to have a circle.
It's overpowered. Yeah. Because if you ever get a block at all, if you ever like lose creativity and you have friends that want like support you and like are interested in the same things. It's definitely really nice.
It makes it easier.
Yeah, because when
You're
I
bouncing
write
ideas
songs,
off of each other, everybody's getting excited. You get that passion behind it, and everything's just it's fun.
When I write songs, a lot of the time I get writer's block and I can't I'll make a catchy hook or a verse and then it's just dead. I just can't think of anything else. But if I write with other people, there's been times where I wrote a full song by myself just because I was in a room with another person also trying to write lyrics, and for some reason just having them there with me made me more creative.
Having the same love for the same things you do.
Exactly. Yeah. When I'm by myself, it just tunes out and then I get focused on something else and then I can't come back to it. But yeah, that's the same thing with like anything. If you're just creative and not having any creativity, honestly, just like throw yourself out there with other people, talk to other people about ideas that they might have that you can collab on.
It's very important. Yeah, it's really important to collab. Yeah. I think collaboration with art is that's kind of how you get further in a way. Because if you don't have other people, it's kind of hard. You know, you're just by yourself. It's hard to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention something. So
what are you mentioning?
When I turned 22 about 3 weeks ago, I spent the week in Los Angeles, California, because I had friends that lived down there and they flew me out there. Yeah, it was fun. We went to the beach a lot.
I was down
went
there
to
at the same time, but like then I left. So
yeah, because you just didn't want to talk to me.
No, I had a.
It's okay. You had more important things. It's whatever.
I'm a busy gal. Woo!
But while I was down there, my best friend Tiger, his Tiger is actually his birth given name. Everybody asks him if it's fake.
When I first met him, I was like.
I
was like, is that?
Yeah, he's got 500,000 on TikTok, right? He's pretty big and he's mostly into like thirst traps and stuff.
But he has a really creative mind actually. He's very into arts and like singing and music and
he's very
modeling and that whole.
He loves like just like clothing as well. Like he loves mismatching clothing, trying different styles and stuff. He's very creative and he loves fits and sharing those too on his TikTok as well. But he also has a bunch of connections because of his TikTok. And we actually met this tattoo artist in LA while we were down there. And since I'm trying to get into videography as well as photography, I asked him if I could shoot him a free hype video just to kind of like practice. And he said, yeah, for sure. And we did like this trade-off where he actually gave me a free tattoo on my forearm.
Show it to the camera.
I don't know if you guys can see
If you guys aren't watching, it's like a little paper airplane. Underneath it is like a shadow of like
a jet airliner.
A jet airliner.
And I got this free tattoo while I did this hype video, and he loved it so much. He said that when I move to LA in the fall, he wants to promote me. He wants to go half in on a new studio because he needs a new studio space, and I would like to have a photography studio, something that we could all like collectively share. And I thought that was awesome. But he also has connections of people and models and TikTok celebrities that also would be willing to pay for photo shoots. So he can help me out when I'm down there. I can help him out by giving him content, and it's just like a really cool trade-off. After I came back, I was sharing my tattoo on my social medias, and my family saw it, but I could tell like my mom was not happy. She had like this vibe that she just kind of wasn't really happy next time she called me, because we don't talk very often. What we do, it's usually just catching up, but she didn't mention anything about LA. I did talk about LA a little bit, but I talked about doing this hype video for this tattoo artist, and I didn't tell her I got the free tattoo, but I'm pretty sure she knew. And she said, oh, so you're going to get all tatted up now? And I said, I don't know, maybe. And she went so quiet. She just didn't say a single word. I could tell she was so mad when I said that, because she was so disappointed in me. But, you know, like, it's my life. You know, she has no control over me anymore. Yeah, I'm 22 and I moved out, and like I can do what I want to do. And honestly, I didn't know if I wanted to get a tattoo, but at this point, like, I thought I was kind of ready for it, and honestly, I love it. I don't regret it whatsoever, and it makes me kind of want to get more. I don't want to get like full sleeves and go crazy.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna get
Once
one.
you cross that
threshold,
and you get one, it's just never ending. You just want another one, and now I actually want to get a nose.
Did it hurt?
Very starting out, like the very first like 5 seconds, it was kind of bad. It's kind of funny because Tiger actually, he jokes about it all the time, but when we laid down, he was the tattoo artist, was asking, so what's the pain tolerance on a scale from 1 to 10? And at first I said 7, no, 8, 9, 9.5, and it just got worse and worse the more he like tattooed. But then shortly after that, they were all laughing, and then the pain just went gone. It was just numb.
It's because you weren't focusing on it.
And it's just it literally just, at first it just feels like you have like a scratch in your arm, like you got scratched up, and then somebody just like scraping over it with their fingernail. Like that's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, I have one on my ribs.
Oh, and I heard that's really sensitive too. That had to be painful.
Okay, surprisingly, it really wasn't for me. I have a really high pain tolerance, so when she was doing it, she's like, like before she told me, she was like, the last person she was like, the last person I gave a tattoo on the ribs, he threw up, and I was like,
he threw up from the pain?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know either. And she's like, yeah, it was not a good thing. And I was like, oh, God. Like, what did I sign myself up for? Like, no going back now. And then she started, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not really that bad. And I was fine. But I just have a higher pain tolerance.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now that I got a tattoo, I want to start getting piercings. I already got my ears pierced. And when I first got them pierced, my oldest sister is following me on all my social medias. And she saw that, and she told my mom that I got my ears pierced.
Oh, what a snitch.
I know.
Siblings.
She's older than me. She's living in Utah. She's going to Utah State, and she's 24 now. But she, siblings will be siblings. They'll snitch on you. So she told my mom. My mom called me, and she was absolutely furious. She's like, you got your ears pierced? Why would you ever want to do that? I'm like, well, I have a ton of friends that have their ears pierced. So honestly, it's not weird.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a style. I really like it.
I'm going to ice myself out.
Yeah.
Besides my necklace.
Just got to get drip,
Yeah.
But now that I got my ears pierced, like, I really like how they look. I've never regretted it at all. Just like my tattoo. It's just like a style that I really like. I feel like it looks good on me, and I want to continue that. And I want to get a hoop soon. But I heard you have to get a stud in your nose first to let it heal. And it takes up to like 4 months, I think.
Yeah, it takes a while. And then if it gets infected or if you take it out.
Right. And I'm nervous to get it done because if I do get it done, I do see my family periodically throughout the year. Like for my parents' birthdays or for some certain holidays, I'll come home, like for Christmas or Easter. And I think I only visit 4 or 5 times a year. But when I do visit, I don't want them to be even more disappointed in me than they already are. Another thing is they
rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, exactly. They already know I have a tattoo. They already know I drink. They know I have my ears pierced.
What
I
else
think
could I add to the list?
Yeah, I think at this point I'm kind of like the black sheep of the family, and I feel like
I feel like a lot of creatives can relate to that.
Yeah.
To be honest.
There's definitely. I definitely went through a lot of mental trauma growing up because of my religious background, but also just like I don't know, a lot of mental and emotional abuse.
Yeah.
But
Ciao. Anyways,
yeah.
You're like, not that topic.
Like,
Next.
mental health trauma.
Mental health matters. Okay.
Yeah. Mental health definitely matters. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
But I feel like now like they can't really control what I do because at this point I've already done enough where they just like everything they don't agree with. Kind of, I'm not going out of my way to spite my parents, and like make them hate me. I'm just doing it because I like the look, and honestly,
you do it for you.
I do it for me. Right, but
That's
at this
good.
point, I think they finally realized that they can't control me. They can't tell me what I can or can't do anymore. And so I want to get my nose pierced, but I know when I come back, they're going to be very upset with me. And that's what I'm a little afraid of. But at the same time, like, it's something I really want to get done.
Yeah, I've thought about it, and then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not like a big fan of piercings. I have what are these called? Lobes? Yeah, lobes.
Your lobes.
Yeah, lobes.
Yeah.
I have a double piercing, but I literally pierced my seconds myself, like one day when I was like so bored.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Did it get infected at all?
No, actually.
Oh, that's impressive.
I sterilized the needles and stuff.
Do you want to pierce my nose?
Oh my god, I don't think I could do that. I'd probably screw that up. But I did it, and I was like, I went downstairs before I did it. I was like, Mom, I'm piercing my nails. What? My ears.
Nails.
I'm piercing my ears, and she's like, no, I'll take you to like a tattoo shop and you can get it done professionally. I'm like, oh, too late, and it was like already through.
Oh my gosh.
It actually takes like a lot of like strength, especially if you don't have like, because I was just doing it with like a sewing needle. Crazy, right?
That is crazy.
Because like usually when you get it done, it's like with it's like a hollow needle and it takes like an actual chunk out, or you go to eclairs and you get the guns, which are apparently bad for yours. But
Oh.
I just did it with a needle. Was it the smartest
I heard it's really,
idea?
really easy to get infected. Like, super easy.
Surprisingly, it did not get infected, which is
That was really interesting.
I know.
Both of my ears got infected.
Really?
And I would like soak them in Vaseline or saline.
Saline?
Yeah,
Ooh,
Vaseline. That'd be interesting. Soak them in saline all the time, and they would still like just like start getting infected, start scabbing up. It's horrible.
Interesting.
But I'm worried it's gonna be the same when I pierce my nose. But
I feel like you just have to like wash it a lot.
Yeah.
Or like sanitize it. I don't really know.
Just shove my nose in a bowl of saline.
You just hold it in there.
Yeah.
You pass out, holding your breath.
Not be safe.
Not be safe. Nuh-uh.
Not for me.
What are your future goals for photography and like comparing to like where you are right now? Like where do you want to be? Like aspirations, typical.
I honestly love looking at like travel influencing content.
Okay, me too. Honestly, I look at them like, oh, those are so dope.
I know. Like I've even thought about like getting a Sprinter van, just like living in a van and traveling on the coast or something, and just creating content because I have a mini drone. I could get like cool aerial shots of coastlines and beaches or like forests if I want to go to national parks. But I just love traveling. It's always been a thing of mine because I've originally from here in Idaho and we're landlocked. We don't really have much to see.
Oh,
and
definitely not.
Whenever
There's
I
not much
travel,
around here except like cows and farms.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a forest action.
Every now and then there'll be like a waterfall, but it's really hard to find. Yeah, but I love traveling. Me and my friends took a trip to Oregon just last fall, and we took a 3-day trip and just slept in my car because we didn't really have the budget to stay in a hotel or anything like that.
But those make some good memories.
They made amazing memories, actually, and I got amazing photos. I was so happy with how they turned out. We went to the Redwoods. We went to like Crescent Beach on very low bottom part of Oregon, I believe, and we went to Eureka. We went to the where else? Somewhere in Northern California. But it was a really, really cool trip, and we all got amazing photos out of it. Everybody loved it. It's like sleeping in the car wasn't even an issue. It wasn't cold like we thought it would be, and honestly, we all had a good time.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah.
So, what advice do you have for the future photographers watching or listening? Because this is a special kind of podcast with a video element. So, yeah, you can watch on YouTube, or you can just listen on Spotify and Apple currently.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. Versatile.
Yeah.
For advice, I would say for anybody starting out with photography, or somebody that's thinking about getting into photography, don't let people get you down. Honestly, when I started out, my old best friend, who's no longer my friend now, for various reasons, he would kind of use me to take photos for his car because he had a really nice sports car, Nissan,
car people.
Nissan Z350 or 350Z, and he made an Instagram for his car, right? And since I was getting into photography and I was getting into editing colors, and I had my camera, I think I had like a 35 millimeter lens, so it's got good depth of field, which means if I took a picture of his car, the background would be blurred. It looks more professional that way. So he would always ask me to do photo shoots for him in his car for Instagram, and I would do it without question because I loved photography. It was so interesting to me. I could post it and give it to him. He loved it. He would share it. I could post it on my page, and people that follow me would see it. And it got to the point where I would always be wanting to like do creative Photoshop stuff. Like I was getting way into like creativity, like really cool art. And my friend, he sent me a paragraph one time through text, and he told me that he did not like my photography anymore. He said it's all I cared about. Every time we hung out, I would apparently bring up photography or want them to do a shoot with him, even though half the time we hung out, he would be asking for photos, right?
Yeah.
And he said I wasn't good at photography.
He just wasn't being supportive.
He wasn't supportive at all. No, he said my photography sucked. He said he didn't like hanging out with me because all I cared about or all I talked about was photography, and he just had no enjoyment anymore, and he didn't like being my friend anymore. And he basically kind of cut off our friendship, which I think is honestly kind of immature. But that's kind of like got me down. But honestly, I decided like if he is not going to be supportive of me, I don't need him as a friend anyway.
Right. And I feel like that applies to a lot of things in life. Like if you don't surround yourself with people who have the same mindset,
you definitely want a circle that all wants to push for success. Yeah.
Exactly.
And where he didn't want that for me, and he didn't really care about what I was passionate about, he only cared about his own passions. I just thought he was like loose weight that I didn't need. And so where he kind of cut off our friendship, I honestly kind of took it as a good thing. And I continued progressing my photography. And then I decided to move here to Boise, which is a bigger city, more opportunity, more people.
Yeah.
And I definitely developed my style, growing a name for myself out here. Whereas he honestly. I think he like hates his job. He got in a car accident, so his Z is no longer.
So
he doesn't have his Z anymore, so his car's gone, and like things are just not going well for him. I honestly do feel bad for him. But that's the advice I would say is, even though people might bring you down, people might not be supportive of you, it doesn't really matter, honestly, if you care about it enough to not really care what other people say and you keep pursuing.
If it's something you love, just keep doing it.
Exactly, just keep doing it. And that's what I did. Like I didn't let it get me down. And I feel like too many people do. They think about it too much. Too many people are like people pleasing, where they only do stuff for other people and not enough for themselves. And I definitely believe self-love is definitely something that is needed for
sure.
health. And so I just focused on what I cared about doing. Like I love doing music, but at the same time I love doing photography too. And I started focusing more on my photography, and I love where I am now. And if I let him get to me, I probably wouldn't still be doing photography.
Well, thank you guys for listening, and if you're watching, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at Mastery Minds Podcast, on Twitter Mastery Minds Podcast. I think we're starting up a Discord actually.
That's sweet.
If you want to see the video element on YouTube, Mastery Minds Podcast. And that's how you get connected. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to download, make sure to like, favorite. It'll help the podcast do better, and share it as well.
Yeah, it'll help you out a lot.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing your little expertise,
my background,
your passion, and your background, and everything about that. So
cool. Yeah, I'm always open to talking about stuff like this. And
you want to shout yourself out? The Instagram, the TikTok.
Yeah, my Instagram is official_DL photography. DL as in Dillon Landon. And my TikTok is Dilly Doggy. That's DILLYDAWGY.
Why?
So, why? Dilly Doggy.
And he posts some fun little videos on TikTok.
I don't really do
reels.
photography, like shout out my photography. I also make music a little bit, and I do flips. I like to do parkour. So I do a lot of like corkscrews and
that just reminds me. Parkour.
The Office.
Yep.
Parkour.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys.
Thanks.
And I hope you tune into the next episode.
Peace.
Bye.